Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, back again in Kuliah Teknokrat with me, Budi Setiawan, in Extrinsic Element of Prose class. Well, happy to see you again in this program. And today we are going to discuss about extrinsic element of prose. Okay, so in these lovely occasions, in prose, the extrinsic elements of prose, we have some objective, in big objective that we are going to achieve during this master actually. I need to share first, the objective of this subject is to develop students' ability to criticize fiction in prose, especially in relation to its external context comprehensively. Let me describe about this subject. Okay, the subject focuses on writing critical essay toward fiction of prose. It directs students to think critically and contextually based on the based on the psychological, sociological, and cultural relations in analyzing literary works. Okay, well, to achieve those things, so today in our very first meeting of extrinsic element of prose, the focus in this meeting or in this session, we will learn about, first one is the basic concept about extrinsic elements of prose. Next. The second one is the definitions of extrinsic elements of prose. And the third one is the focus of extrinsic elements of prose. And next, the fourth one, we are going to talk about the relationship of literature and biography. And the next is the fifth one is we're going to talk about also the relationship of literature and psychology. And the last one is the influence of extrinsic factors. Okay, let's start. The basic concept about extrinsic elements of prose. So we're going to discuss the first one. Let's start. Let's start the first one. The first one is the basic concept of extrinsic elements of prose. Well, extrinsic elements is also known as the extrinsic factors. It influences the literary works. It is usually become a causal explanation for some description, analysis, and evaluations of a literary work. And those critics may use extrinsic factors and approach to make a criticism toward any literary works. So there is a relationship within the extrinsic elements of prose toward the literary work itself, even though it is placed outside of that literary works, but actually it has relations. All right. Second, we are going to talk about number two, the definitions of the extrinsic element of prose. Extrinsic element of prose or extrinsic factors are the literary elements or factors which can be found outside the literary works, but it is indirectly influence the structure of the literary work itself. So that's the definitions that we are going to talk deep further later. Okay. Next, extrinsic approach is used by critics to emphasize the importance of the context to the text. So the text itself actually doesn't stand alone. There is a context, time, place, and so on, which actually influenced by outside of that literary work. So that the outside part again and again will influence the creations of that literary works. Okay, we are going to talk about the third part that we are going to discuss today is that the focus of extrinsic element of prose. Okay, so what is the focus of extrinsic element of prose? Yeah, it is actually focused on the background, history, remember, the background, history, social conditions, and biography of the authors. So that will be the focus of the extrinsic element. I will repeat once more, the background and also the social condition, history, and also the biography of the author. But sometimes it connects literature to the social context and psychological as well. Okay, according to Welk and Warren, part of which includes extrinsic element are, first is circumstances of individual subjectivity, authors who have attitudes, beliefs, and outlook on life that these things affect the making of literary works. So the circumstances of the individual subjectivity of the authors, okay, that's number one. Number two is psychological state. Psychological, well, the author, psychological readers, as well as the applications of psychological principle in the work. Number three, based on Welk and Warren, author of circumstances such as economic, social, and also political. Next. The fourth one is about view of life of a nation, the various work of art, religion, and so forth. Background of the author's life as part of extrinsic elements affect works of literature. Sure, because of literary work cannot, cannot stand alone. The life of the authors will really affect the literature itself. For the example of a particular area, cultural backgrounds are consciously or unconsciously will incorporate elements of culture into literature. Okay. So next we are going to talk about the relationship of the literature and biography. Do you think it has a relationship? Yeah, let's discuss deeper. Well, biography may give any contributions to the making of literary works. From a biography, we will from a biography, we will not only know the genius, moral, intellectual, and emotional developments of a man, but we may learn the psychology, conditions, and author creative process. So, from the literary work, we can know that how can he or she be, very genius in composing the story, right? From the biography, we'll say also we can correlate all those things. Next is the biographical approach. Forget that a work of art is not only simply the embodiment of experience, but always the latest work in a series of such works. It is in drama, a novel, a poem that determined so far as it is determined at all by literary traditions and conventions. The biographical approach actually obscure a proper comprehension of the literary process, since it breaks up the order of literary traditions to substitute the life circle of an individual. Next, the biographical approach ignores also quite simple psychological facts. A work of art may be the mask or anti-self, that behind which his real person is hiding, or it may be a picture of the life from which the author wants to escape. So, literary work can be the reflections of the author itself. It's the biography. You can compare the biography of the author and also with the literary work he has made. But also, we have to also remember that it also can be a mask that it is not actually the author, but it is actually the what is that? There is a hidden layer behind the literary works that the author don't want to be, or he is not being that embodiment. So, but actually, by looking at the biography of the writer, so we can see, oh, actually, it is not at all reflecting his or the author, or it opposing actually. Yeah. Next, the next discussion is about literature and psychology. Well, psychology can explain about the creative process. Sure, a study of revisions, corrections, and the like, has more, which is literally profitable, since well used, it may help us perceive particularly relevant fissures, inconsistencies, turning distortions, and in a work of art, based on Warren's 1977. Okay. There is a psychological process in making the literary work, and it has been also explained by Work and Warren. Well, by the way, next we're going to talk about what is the influence of extrinsic factors or extrinsic elements. So the first one is that extrinsic elements become the integral part of the building works of literature. The place is outside actually, but it is integral. It is part of the construction of literary work itself. It cannot be separated. Okay, next is, number 2 is extrinsic elements give color and flavor to literature, which in turn can be interpreted as meaning. Okay, and the third one is extrinsic elements that affect the work can also be used as a portrait of objective reality at the time the work was born, so that as a readers can understand the psychological mood state of the society and the author at a time. Again, it influencing. So actually, literature can influence the society, and also the society can influence the literature itself. Well, we go to literary works. One of a famous novel, and it is the inspiration for a producer to make it into a movie. And this is very famous, one of the best-selling novel. And do you know, I believe that you know about this literary work. The title is Kite Runner. Do you remember who is the author? Yeah? Okay. So yeah, that's right. The author is Khalid Hosseini. Khalid Hosseini was born on March 4, 1965 in Kabul, Afghanistan. His father was diplomat in Afghanistan, foreign ministry, and his mother taught Persian literature at high school in Kabul. When he was 5 years old, his family moved to Iran, and they came back to Kabul when Afghanistan became republic in 1976. His family moved to Paris instead of returning to Kabul, which had been destroyed after the invasions of the Soviet army in Afghanistan. They decided to move to the United States and live in San Jose, California. So from that really short biography, maybe you will, have kind of what information entrap your mind that you try to correlate with the story he has wrote, The Kite Runner. Still remember about the Kite Runner story, telling about two tribes in Afghanistan, majority and minority, and then with all the conflict inside of the family and friendship and so on, it composed very beautiful story, and most people love that story. It can be seen from the best-selling novel achievement and also from the movie itself. So the biography of the author, or the journey of the author itself, brings effect toward the story. What is that? Yeah, the story the setting is the intrinsic element we can see inside of the story is about story in Kabul, the story in the state of Afghanistan, and the country where Khalid Hosseini was born, and Khalid Hosseini can picturized a very detailed situation in Afghanistan, Kabul. It shows that extrinsic, the culture of Afghanistan people over there, the tribe, Hazara and other tribe, you can actually know it from the story. It actually taken from what is really exist in the society in Afghanistan. So the story seems that really realistic, so that people enjoy that so much. So basically, it really shows us that extrinsic elements is part of the integral of the literary work itself. Well, I think that's all for this session. Next session, we are going to discuss deeper about the extrinsic element. All right. Well, thank you for your attention. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification icons there. I think that's all. Thank you for your attention. See you again in the next session. And I close. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan video pembelajaran ini. Jangan lupa like, komen, dan subscribe, serta nyalakan tanda loncengnya agar kalian tidak ketinggalan informasi update lainnya.